Welcome to the Goddess-ity podcast, where women come together and have the audacity to tell their truths. Are you choosing to live out loud while honoring the divine within? Well, ladies, this is your movement. Join Akili, April, Juanita, and Linda as they dive deep into topics like self-love, spirituality, and Kemetic wisdom. We call those the foundations of goddess life. Tap in with the goddesses every week to be inspired, uplifted, and empowered.
Hello and welcome to the Goddess-ity podcast, where every woman is encouraged to embody her divinity. Today, guys, we have a wonderful discussion for you. Today, we're going to be talking about embracing Kemetic principles to manifest self-love. And I don't know if you guys might understand what Kemetic principles are about, but today, Goddess Akili is going to give us some information to explain for you that have not heard of Kemetic principles, a little bit about what they are and what does Kemet stand for.
Well, thank you, Goddess Juanita. I am so excited for today's episode because I have just gotten so immersed into Kemet and ancient Africa and all of this ancient wisdom in 2023. Though I have been in the world of practicing metaphysics like so many of us had and learning those principles, it was very disconnected as I was learning those things from ancient Africa. I feel like everything that I was being taught, whether it was about meditation, yoga, Reiki, the chakras, healing, intuition, was always being seen through an extremely Eurocentric lens, or even sometimes an Asian lens, right? But never any things that were African, right? So in 2023, when I started to be introduced to things like Kemetic centered living and really starting to understand that spirituality itself, metaphysics, different things, again, like yoga and Reiki and meditation, and all of those things were born in ancient Africa, it was like a mind-blowing, explosive event, right? So when I think about Kemetic principles, there's an expansive number of Kemetic principles, and I think it really depends on how we define the word principle. But when we talk about Kemet, first and foremost, let's just put it out there that Kemet is what the Greeks called Egypt, what people will now call today modern day Egypt. If you can believe it, the ancient Africans of that time actually had their own languages and ability to name their own area, and they called it Kemet, which was the land of the Black, right? Now, there's multiple people that try to tell us that it means land of the Black people. There's people that tell us it's land of the black sand because the area was so fertile and rich with nutrients. All I know is at that time, that's what was populating the area was Black people, because that's all there were. Okay. So when we look at that, I get really excited about that. So I like to refer to Egypt as Kemet all of the time. So again, if we're talking about where the Kemetic principles are coming from, I just wanted to give a little tiny bit of history if people weren't aware of that. So again, when we talk about the fact that there's all kinds of principles, if you understand that Kemet is actually like, I want to call it like the place where civilization kind of exploded onto the scene. Ancient Africans really migrated from South and Central Africa up the Nile, all the while creating civilization and creating spirituality and morality and the way of being. But as different African groups converged together in the Nile Valley, right, you've got that fertile soil, you've got people's understanding of farming and all kinds of different techniques in terms of how to feed a society and keep things going. And Kemet came on the scene almost like it was just being born, but also being born fully grown, right? You got writing coming out of there, math coming out of there, astronomy, astrology, all of the sciences just, coming out of the intelligence of those people, it seemingly at one point. And that was what really led to ancient Egypt, as people know it, being so great, or the Mecca of everything at that time. So some of the principles that I feel like are so important to the concept of self-love are, number one, ma'at, which is a governing principle of just Kemetic culture. The concept of ma'at is really about truth, balance, and harmony. Out of ancient Egypt, we get governments, we get the understanding of hierarchy, we get the understanding of how to run cities, how to run towns, but best, how to self-govern. Right? So there are a lot of different affirmations and laws of Ma'at. Actually, I have the 42 laws of Ma'at over here on my wall that basically kind of give you an understanding of how you are supposed to live from day to day. You didn't need a bunch of people policing you. You didn't need a bunch of people telling you what you aren't going to do and putting you in jail and all of these different things, because you have a society, again, that self-governs. So Ma'at, being truth, balance, and harmony, is all about encouraging you to seek balance within yourself. That's what I think about when I think about self-love. I feel like us living in America, it sometimes gets hard to even consider the idea of balance, right? We celebrate the fact here that you can't have balance, right? We say work-life balance is not really a thing. Expect that something is always going to suffer and you will never be disappointed. You can't have it all, right? But still strive to do it. That's, to me, not necessarily balance. But if you can recognize the truth of your innate worth, if you can strive for balance when it comes to your thoughts, when it comes to your actions, and of course, when it comes to your emotions, you can really foster a profound love for yourself. Now, it sounds really simple. But it is a challenge for sure to live each day with that concept. But I love the fact of knowing that, again, that was a governing principle, of our people, to know that these things needed to happen. So that's number one. That's my eye. The second one we are going to talk about is the Ankh. And I love the Ankh. If anybody knows anything about me at all, you know how I feel about the Ankh. Ankh is the key, honey. That's how I feel about it. The Ankh, it's just a symbol, like you see my earrings here, right? You see me with the wooden Ankhs in my ears. It is the symbol of life. It really reminds me, it just serves as just a symbolic reminder. Okay, Keely, again, you need to understand your divine spark, right? You need to pay close attention to that life force that's within you and understand what a powerful creator and manifester you are. So not only does it, give me the ability to consider that, it makes me realize that, man, if I just have the right energy behind it, I have the right, emotional charge behind it, I can create whatever it is that I want. Um, so whether it's a health situation, whether it is my spiritual well-being, I am in control of all of these things much more than I can ever even consider. I think that's such an important component of self-love. And then the third one, I don't know that I would call this one as much of a principle. I guess I could, right? And I don't want to get all into ancient Egyptian netters and all of that. But there is a spiritual nature, if you will, or a component of the creator that the ancient Cometians called Tahuti. Okay. And Tahuti, you will notice, you'll see in different hieroglyphics, it is the ibis bird or the ibis bird that has a very long beak. And usually when you see Tahuti, Tahuti is like in the midst of writing something. It's like the beak itself told ancient Cometians when they saw that particular bird that when it was digging in the sand for worms or digging in the ground for worms, it looked like it was scripting. So that's why you see it a lot of times on, the walls of the pyramids, holding something as a scribe. Tahuti represents wisdom and knowledge, okay, which is so huge. We just talked about, the necessity of having understanding when you're trying to manifest. You have to have that wisdom and that knowledge to go along with that Ankh piece, right? So you want to seek wisdom, you want to have understanding through constantly self-reflecting. Constantly self-reflecting. And I don't even want to say constantly, because that can then put you in a space of like, oh, I have to self-reflect today. But I feel like there's no better way to grow than to understand how you are moving through life, where you're experiencing challenges, and what types of things do you need to do differently so those things are no longer feeling overwhelming to you or no longer seeming like a challenge or an obstacle. And then accepting the things that, are just going to be things that you can't change, and, choosing to move away from that thing, or, you know, moving away from that thing. Um, having that knowledge just empowers you, I believe, to understand your own self-worth. I feel like the more knowledgeable I become, um, especially about my history and my DNA, the more I feel like nothing is impossible. Like I feel like everything is possible. And at a point in time, we thought everything was impossible until it got done. Right. And so it's just a matter of having that understanding. So you can really cultivate a great deal of self-love through learning and personal development. And I think Tahuti, that principle, embodies that, so much. In fact, that particular, entity that we see, that ibis bird, and with the human body, is also referred to as Thoth. And that's where we get the word thought. I'm telling you, these ancient Egyptians now, they were on it, Jack. So it's a beautiful thing. So now I want to get some feedback from you ladies about, these Kemetic principles in terms of how you feel like, these things resonate with you in terms of how they're showing up in your life, or, if you have any challenges associated with, the laws of Ma'at or the Ankh or Tahuti. Who wants to take it away? You guys all look like you're so ready. I'm excited.
I can go.
Go ahead.
So when I think about balance, right, and having this harmonious internal environment, um, when I think about self-love and caring for myself, right, as someone who's experienced different traumas and who, before I understood how much I am responsible and in control of how I feel, um, once I got that concept and understood how much that, no matter, and we kind of were talking about this earlier, what's going on around you, that you have the ability to decide what you experience by what you focus on, right? Because you can choose what you think about, um, and what you think about whatever is happening. You can decide what to think about it, and that then, um, controls how you feel, right?
Mhm.
You can always choose a better feeling thought, right? So I think in terms of my inner peace, and being in a state of calmness, of peacefulness, and being intentional about that is a way for me to take care of myself, right? And to show myself self-love. Um, and it kind of seems sometimes, you know, contradictory, like, that if someone else is doing something or you perceive someone to be doing something to you or acting in a way that is negative or whatever, that you would be the one that need to do something about it, right? This taking ownership for your feelings. But at the end of the day, that's exactly what it is. You cannot control what anyone else is saying or doing, how they're behaving, but you have complete control of how you respond to it. And it's in your best interest to ensure that you don't allow anyone else to hijack your emotional body, right? Because that affects your physical body, your mental body, right? So yeah, I would say that's a big one for me is my eye.
Everything you just said gives me my state of mind, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's what that is. So I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
That's why I'm getting my
Yeah.
bag.
That's why you're getting your bag.
my
Nice.
my aunt,
Yeah.
my aunt
My,
couture, my aunt state of mind bag.
nice. Nice. I
Mhm.
love that. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
let me jump in real quick. I just want to briefly, so although you did just touch on three of the principles, Akili, there is a theme to all of them. They're all interconnected, and it all has to do with that inner being, that self-love. And let me say this. I think that now we're calling it self-love because we've gotten so far away from who we are that I think this, for me, I will speak for myself, that how I got onto this journey and learning about Kemeticism, um, was trying to get back to self and figure out who I am. Because one of the things I used to always say is like, uh, well, once I find myself, what the hell am I going to do with it? You know, and
Yeah.
and right, well, love her. That's what you're going to do with her. And so, but I'm just saying that as far as the principles and the foundations, if we just look at the theme, and if every one of them has some form of introspection and with self, that should tell you something, how important it is to treat yourself and love yourself in a certain manner, or just your way of being. And it is my hope that as we continue on with this discussion, that those listening to us will come to understand and realize that the power is within in them, and to stop looking without and putting the onus on other people to make changes just so that they can feel comfortable within themselves. That right there is a very good indicator that there's some inner work that needs to be done. So.
I love that. I love that, Goddess Linda. I resonate with all that. Because again, those bring up some of the challenges. I think people are easy to love when they're easy to love. So waiting for people to make changes and do these things is something I think we commonly feel like should happen. Like, I have your best interest at heart. Come on and go with me with the flow. Don't go against the grain. You're just going to make things more difficult. But we can't wait for that. You got that right.
Yeah.
Mhm. What
Um,
about you,
like,
Goddess One?
yeah, I'd like to chime in a little bit. I think for me, Ma'at is, and I guess all of them, like I said, it's all ties together. But what I see with Ma'at and what, I've had conversations with people before is, people say, because part of Ma'at is truth. And people say, well, what is truth? You know what I mean? And what's so very interesting about is truth, justice, morality, that's different for all of us. Because what is true to me might not be true to you, right? And what you learn and what I learned from all the introspection is that's okay. My truth don't have to be your truth. And that's okay. But in the world and society that we, grew up in and how we went to school, and it's kind of like everything is about conforming and everybody thinking exactly alike about everything.
Mhm.
So when you grow up, you have this ideal in your mind that we all got to agree. That's the only way that we can all live together, is because your truth and my truth have to be just alike. And if it's not, then there's something wrong with you, right?
Mhm.
But
Yep.
once you start learning these principles, you start seeing that it's all about controlling yourself, understanding yourself, and understanding that you, like whatever I decide to do, has nothing to do with what you decide to do. It's not going to stop me from doing what I have to do. It's not going to interfere with me unless I let it, because I decide that something outside of me is controlling what's going on with me. And that's the beauty about the principle, because, like, everyone is saying, it's really going within and understanding what does that mean to me, and then understanding that, hey, just because it means that to me, I can have it mean that to me, and I don't have to agree with everybody around me. I get to be able to come into this life and have my experience, which can be totally
I
different from
love that.
yours, and it's okay.
Yeah,
I love
That's
that.
about it.
I
Absolutely.
do too. I love
The
that.
individuality of it is what makes it so beautiful, I think, and also what makes it so scary or makes it so daunting to a lot of people.
Yeah,
So,
but it's
yeah.
powerful. It's
Yeah.
powerful to know that, oh my God, I don't have to be like everybody else. I
Mhm.
can just be
Mhm.
me.
Yes.
Mhm.
And can I just
Yeah.
add something really quick too? Just like speaking of wisdom and right knowledge. And I think too, what Juanita is saying is that we're conditioned to, as soon as we hear something that contradicts what we think and feel, now we get defensive and now we stop listening, we stop learning. But everyone is an opportunity, every person, all of these different perspectives. That's how we actually learn. It's how we learn about ourselves the most, actually,
Yeah.
is by coming up against things that are different from us. And that is a very beautiful thing. I mean, to the point where, you guys, I'm telling you, when I finally got to a place where, and I'm not saying this is 100% of the time, but I finally got to a place where the people who I felt had, like, say, victimized me or did something harmful to me, treated me poorly, or, were the villain, when I finally got immersed into this Kemetic knowledge and wisdom and understanding, and I was able to start seeing them as a teacher. I was able to start seeing the role and being able to actually appreciate the role they played in my life, despite what may have happened, but finding the lesson, the knowledge, the wisdom in it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I love that you went there, because yeah, it's very powerful. It really is.
Yeah. And I mean, I know you're getting ready to take us into some more power, right? As we look at how so many of these ancient Kemetic principles, are presented as what people call New Age, or universal laws. And I feel like there's nothing new except the history we don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we get ready to, kind of speak about these things in terms of universal laws, know that those things are seated in ancient African wisdom. So Goddess April, take us on a little bit of a journey with some of these universal laws and, talk to us about how they relate to self-love.
Yeah. So the first one, and like you said, definitely Kemetic origin, right? But yeah, most people are familiar with it being presented as a universal law. So the universal law of um the law of divine oneness, right? And you spoke about the Ankh and this divine spark, right? That is within you. And so this principle pretty much just reminds us that everything is created of it, right? Everything has it within it, it's of it, right? Exists within it. And there is no separation actually, even though in these bodies we perceive things separately, that everything is connected and is of one, right? It's almost analogy that a lot of people like to use is the ocean analogy, right? Of how there's all of these, there's, when you look from a distance, it's one huge ocean, but it's actually made up of all of these droplets, right, of water. And so if you scoop up a cup of it, you still have a cup of ocean, right?
Yeah.
Even though it appears to be separate, it's still made up of the same thing. So that is the same principle and concept. Our human bodies are the same. You can break every system down. You know what I mean? If you just look at our body, it's one, but it's made up of all of these different parts and aspects, all the way down to the atom, and then, so but it's all connected and all of it serves a purpose. So the law of divine oneness reminds us that we're all connected. And not only that, that divine spark, that God consciousness, that source, like we are that. And so to remind yourself that you are this powerful being, that you are, because a lot of us, we will love our pets and our children, and we'll put other things on pedestals, right? And see the beauty in them, the beauty in nature, the beauty of everything else, and not, right, recognize ourselves in that same way. So knowing and embracing and understanding your divineness, and how special you are, and how wonderful you are, and how creative you are, is a very powerful. It's very foundational, right? In terms of loving yourself. So, and then the next one, it's kind of connected because they all are, but this idea that the law of vibration is this idea or the concept that everything is vibrating at a particular frequency, right? And that's why with our eyes we perceive them separately, because they are vibrating at a different frequency, and because of that we perceive them, right, in a particular shape or form, or at a particular pitch or sound, right? But everything is vibrating. And, you know, because we are made up of this same energy, even though we are vibrating at different levels, we, in essence, have the ability to align ourselves with things that we desire. And we do it unconsciously all the time, right? But being mindful of this, that everything is vibrating and that you are of it and it is of you, that it, what is the word, benefits you to, as a creator, the way that we create is to ensure that we are vibrating within the vicinity of the things that we want, that we desire. So if you want more love, then you have to be love, right? You have to be the thing, and operate in a space that will attract more of whatever it is that you desire. And we do it all the time. It is law. That's just how it works. Which actually connects to the law of attraction, which we'll get to next. But yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to chime in at this moment yet to just talk about how these relate or benefit you as you think about them, apply them in your lives or not.
I would like to, Goddess April, basically, when you were talking about the divine law of oneness, one of the things, as you think about being one with everything, one of the things that I just, like I say, a practice that I do that just makes me feel so connected to everything. And sometimes in my meditation, one of the things that I'll do is that I will close my eyes, and then I will say, okay, feel this light coming from the cosmos, and this light is just filling me up. It's just going through my eyes. I'm just going through the whole body. And then this light is going all the way down to my, to my feet. And then at the core of the earth, that part is just coming up. The core is almost like branches coming up, and it's just it's grabbing me, and it's just holding me. And then that spark is coming up from the earth. And so I have this spark coming from the sky, it's coming from the earth, and it's going all. And now I feel just full of this love that's just embracing me. And then I'm just sending this love out, and I just see myself sending it all over Texas, the whole United States, the whole world. And then I'm sending it back to the cosmos. And when I do that, I just feel like I'm just enveloped in all this love, and that I'm connected to everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm connected to the earth, I'm connected to the trees, the grass, and everything. And when I do that practice, I'm telling you, my day is so different. I feel so connected to everything. I feel so loved. I feel so one. But it's just being in that space where you can actually see all of that. Like, it's just everything is one. And that makes me feel connected to everything, and that I'm not separated. And, just doing that practice, that kind of meditation. And so I would say that's a good meditation to do whenever you can find a way to try to connect within yourself to everything out. It's very powerful.
Absolutely. I've done that as well. I love doing that. Absolutely. I love that one.
Yeah. Well, I'll jump in here because I know for me, the law of divine oneness makes me think about exactly what you said in terms of the ocean analogy, or the sun analogy. Like, the sun is God and we're one of the rays, right? One of the things I really had to do, and I really had to get comfortable with, is dehumanizing God.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I,
We going there. Let's go. Okay.
listen, I had to get very comfortable. Well, I mean, coming from an extremely Christian background, right? The concepts of Jesus, and the way that God has all of these personalities like a human, made it very difficult to be one with that entity, right? Something that could never be in you, right? It created you to be sinful in nature. You have to go and sneak and get behind a burning bush, and 17 people have to get in front of you to get the message, to make sure it's okay, and are your feet clean. All these things are happening before you can even have a conversation with God, but then you can go pray about it when you feel like it, in some shape or fashion.
Yeah.
Very confusing for me. And looking at the human aspects, especially the judgmental features, that God has always been given, again, required me to put that aside, right? In Kemeticism, we understand that creation is God.
Yes.
The simply creation. And while I don't understand every inch of it, I don't have to. I can understand aspects of it. Each one of us is an aspect of the divine, right? I can look to nature to see this is an aspect of the divine, and how this works is naturally how it's supposed to be working, right? But I don't have to be in a space where I'm worried about, the judgment and the wrath, and I'm going to burn forever, yet I don't have any flesh because I'm a spirit, but what's actually on fire, I don't know.
Never thought
I'm
about
just
that.
saying, I don't understand it. And like I said, Kemeticism removed that burden. And so the law of divine oneness, knowing that it comes directly out of ancient Africa, is exactly what I think it's about. If you understand that you are simply an aspect of divine creation, you can't help but be connected with everything. If you are
Everything.
simply just energy, right? Just in a different state and being, and everything is that.
Yeah.
How can there be any separation?
Yeah.
It's like impossible, right? Now the law of vibration, I'm still trying to I'm still getting my I'm still getting my goddess mojo around that one because like I said, I know that everything vibrates. I got my little Reiki tuning forks around here to try to get my megahertz and my chakras aligned differently. And I do believe in the fact that, I love a good Marvel movie and how they show us the variety of things. But I do believe in the fact that if I could understand vibration on a level where I could change my vibration to be the same as what's going on with this wall, that I could walk through it.
Yeah.
I just don't know how
You can
yet.
line with it. Yep, that's
Exactly.
true.
I just don't know how to do it yet, but I feel like I
Line
could
with
do that. Right. So that is definitely a work in progress and a learning because there's so many layers of the physicality of who we are that I feel like we have to focus on every single day, or we are told to focus on every single day that we don't, we feel like we can't get away from that. So it makes the law of vibration a little bit more challenging for me, but I'm working on it, goddesses. I'm working on
Well, maybe Goddess Akili, I can give you a little bit from some perspective and
it.
insight
Yes.
into this law of vibration.
Come
I'm
on,
going
goddess
to go,
Linda.
but yeah, but I tie that into the law of correspondence. So vibration attracts. So basically, you're attracting your experiences. So whatever you're vibrating within, what's without is going to mirror that. And so that is where the law of correspondence comes into play. So within, so without.
Mm-hmm.
And thought comes into play. That's where your thoughts come into play.
Yes.
So take a look around your whole your environment, your environment, and what is it reflecting to you? What do you see? Do you see peace? Do you see chaos? Do you see confusion? Whatever it is that you see, guess what? You've created that through your thoughts. And once we are able to get a good grasp on that, our whole world will open up and we will see so many different possibilities. Your thoughts. We'll think positive and negative. So if you're thinking something negative, so for example, something negative, you might be out and about and don't believe that someone doesn't like you or everybody doesn't like you. Oh, that person didn't speak to me. Oh, they looked at me funny. These are thoughts that are constantly going around in your head. And most of the time, we're so unaware of these thoughts. It's just habit. But guess what? As you're walking and going about your day-to-day business, when you pass someone and they didn't speak to you, guess what? That's just reaffirming what you've already said inside. Instead, then your level of vibration is just lowering. It's just going lower and lower. And so then you're creating that. You're calling more of that to you. I'm sure that there is a Kemetic. I know that there is. I just am not versed enough in it, but basically, ask and it shall be given. Because the Bible is written from the Kemetic. It's derived from that. Now, whatever happened to it in its creation, that's another thing. So sometimes when I do refer to things in scripture in the Bible, it's because of right now, that's where some of my history is from. But again, ask and it shall be given. So if you're going out there to source to all um, your, your 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 thoughts, because thoughts precede actions. When you're thinking about what it is that you want to create and how you are wanting an experience to be, that also correlates to your vibration. And as you're vibrating on that level, you're going to attract that same wavelength. So if you're vibrating here, you can't attract those things that are on a higher vibrational plane. So being a victim, you're in this victim mode, as April had pointed out, earlier, that how she was looking at things, that actually placed her in a victim mode, that people are doing these things to me, um, and her vibration is low. But then as she continued on her journey and started becoming more aware, her vibration started to change. And now she can see these people as they're being lessons. And if she's looking at that now as a lessons, and then she's taking those lessons, and she's taking those lessons to better herself and position herself to where she wants to be, that's her vibration.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
And so,
wait a minute. I gotta stay with you just right
okay,
here. Let me
okay,
ask one question now.
go ahead.
So am I hearing you say, if we are going to try to understand vibration at the most simple point, like if somebody is like, okay, well, how am I going to change my vibration? Right? Are we saying that, and let me just stop right here. I know that thoughts create your feelings create your actions create your results. So are we
Yes.
saying that my thoughts and my feelings are my vibration?
Are your thoughts and your
Everything.
feelings? But yes, so that's on the most basic experience.
Oh, go
On the
ahead.
most basic level, then yes, that's what I'm saying, that your thoughts and your feelings are creating that vibration. Because
Yes.
if you're sitting up here thinking that, hey, um, the world is out to get me, that's definitely a lower vibration. And those who are also vibrating at that level, that's who you're going to meet up with. That's who you're going to match. And it's going to it's going to make true your reality. It's going to make your thoughts your reality. And so therefore, knowing that, it also lets you know that, hey, if I change my thoughts, it changes my reality. It changes my vibrations, which then in turn changes my reality. So the thoughts that you are internalizing is creating your environment. And if you're looking around and you see that your environment isn't exactly what you desire and what you believe you are worthy and deserving of, that's a prime time for you to take a step back and do that inner reflection. And it's like, well, why is this? Why don't I have the peace that I want to have? Why don't I have the resources that I want to have? Why don't I have the relationship that I want to have? And I can speak on that because in several areas in my life, I'm able to create the desired outcome. But there was one specific area that I was just like, why can't this come about? Why? And then when I just started really reflecting on it, I had a lot of those limiting beliefs, a lot of them, and that they were so quiet and so sneaky. And I started to notice that when I'm out and about, it was like that thought would come into my head, oh, this person is thinking this about me. I'm like, once I started to capture that thought and then challenge it, and it was like, you made that up. This person probably ain't even seen you walk by, you know. So as I started to realize what I was doing, I was creating that distance, that connection with just, people in general, as much as I was desiring connection, a deep connection, you know. I would get to a certain point and it was just like, but I was the one putting on the brakes.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's an area that I'm working on today, for all connections, to remove those limiting beliefs. Because as I think more positively, and it's not even just conjuring up some these positive affirmations, just being as honest with myself as possible. So prime example, a friendship that I had, and something just wasn't going how I would have hoped it would be.
Mhm.
And I started getting mad at this person. And I started making up stories about this person. And I was just like, to justify my reasons for, okay, I just need to back off. I just need to, hey, um, it is what it is type of thing. But once I was honest with myself, again, my thoughts, the truth of the reality is, Linda, you wanted something. You wanted something to be a specific way. And because it wasn't that way, you just assumed that, oh, there ain't no point in having this friendship.
Mm.
You know, um, but that was even more fear for me. That just opened up the door for me to just even go more deeper within myself. Well, why do you believe that? You know, and it was just stuff from the past, stuff from the past. And as soon as I worked that out within myself, and it just put me in this better frame of mind, and I'm just going about my day to day, and I'm like, we end up having a conversation, and I'm like, the best conversation, the best conversation, you
Yeah.
know. But I had to get out of my own way,
Yeah.
you know. And so again, so within, so without. So the whole time that I'm focused on the negative, creating this negativity, I'm losing this relationship, you know. So that was as far as the law of correspondence as I see it. But April, you wanted to say something.
Oh, yeah, I'll make it brief. I was just going to, because again, all of this is connected, but the whole
Yeah.
idea, I was just going to, oh, energy, everything being energy, right? Which is like,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
the divine oneness. But that's I think Achille put it that way. Everything is energy, if I didn't say that. But just remembering that that includes what can be seen and everything that can be seen and any and everything that cannot. That includes your thoughts and your feelings, right? So those things are vibrating as well. Okay, because we don't think about that. But your thoughts are vibrating as well. They're vibrating at a particular frequency. They are energy. And I think another way of saying that, I don't know that it's not in a Kemetic wording or anything like that, but where your focus goes, energy flows, right? So
Yeah.
that goes along
Mm-hmm.
with that
Mm-hmm.
principle of correspondence, is that we can unconsciously create, because we do, but you do have the ability to focus your energy, aka your focus, right? AKA your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts, aka your feelings. And the reason why I'm saying AKA, because they're so closely tied together.
Yes,
Again,
they
there
are.
is no separation, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, what you're saying is absolutely true. That's just another way to think of it, is that
Mm-hmm.
that's why you're creating with your mind, right? That's why,
Mm-hmm.
because your thoughts are literally energy. So if
Yeah.
everything is created out of energy, everything you see, right, that includes your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that is seen in this world was a thought first. There's nothing that
Exactly.
physically exists that wasn't
Exactly.
a thought first, right?
Exactly. Prime example, the Goddess-ity podcast. You
Yeah.
know, we co-created this, and it
That's
started with a thought that was generated through Goddess April,
yeah.
and we continue to have that. So yeah, it was just this co-creation right here is just prime example of that.
It
That's right.
Yeah. Did
is.
anyone else have any input on the law of correspondence? Otherwise, we can jump into another principle, and which is the law of inspired action.
Ooh. Hey.
And okay, now in my days of Christianity, even in my days of Christianity, I did not believe this, but so many other people around me did. I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God.
Oh, I'm waiting on God.
Right.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
okay, I'm sorry. I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God. And I'm like, and I would always challenge them. Well, what if God has asked you to do X, Y, and Z? He's
Mm,
already given you your assignment.
Yep.
mm.
Now I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God. So I'm just like, you know what, Linda? You can't drag people. You can't, as God's one just said, you can only control yourself.
Yep.
So for us, the law of inspired actions, when we are connected to that inner God, we're going to get those downloads. Our answers, our prayers, our requests, our desires, whether verbally spoken or internally, they will be answered.
Mm-hmm.
And it is key that we go into that place of meditation, because um, whether you're sitting there in a chair on the floor 15, 20, 30 minutes, or you're walking about, when you give yourself that moment to just have things quiet and just listen, you're going to get those downloads. You're going to get those answers. And when you get it, the next step is to then take action.
Yep.
And a lot of times, what ends up happening is that our fear sets
Yep.
in. But here's the cure to fear. And this was shared with me this recently on this trip. Is to actually do the action, to actually do the thing. Because the moment that you do it, then your fear is like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, I actually can do this.
Yep.
And that's simple. They're like, no, I can't do this. Now, there's one thing to doing an action that might, put yourself in physical danger. Because we got some people out there that like, extreme sports,
Yep.
you know. But if you have this desire to be a speaker,
Yep.
but you allow your fear of getting before other people and talking,
Yeah.
but yet the platform is always presenting itself, but you let your fear stop you.
Yep.
The only way you're going to get through that is actually just doing it yourself. So you have to take those steps and take those actions. And they don't have to be huge steps.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it is just, again, going back to the thoughts,
Yep.
it's just agreeing with like, yeah, acknowledging that this is what I need to do.
Yep.
And if you don't know what you need to do, ask, okay, what's my next step?
Yep.
And then shut up and listen, because you will receive the answer. I'm telling you, you're going to receive the answer all the time, all the time.
That's a
So
shirt, Linda.
also,
Shut up and listen. That's a shirt.
yeah. Oh, shut up and listen. Shut up. Listen, Linda. Shut up, Linda, and listen, Linda. Yeah. But so in action also comes in just different forms. So another form of action is setting up boundaries,
Yep.
you know, and when you, and in doing so, it's going to change some things, and it's going to feel uncomfortable when you set those boundaries. People might fall off. That happened to me. I lost a really close friend. And what I realized in the situation of that moment, there was things that was happening, had been happening over um, over a period of time, a long period of time. And I was always adjusting my course of action to make myself feel comfortable um, in the situation or in the moment. And years down the road, something transpired, and I had to remove myself. And I said, oh, I'm going home. We were all hanging out together, and I said, I'm going home. And as I'm going home, And I'm just like, why am I feeling this way? What's going on? And I just started getting these downloads. And it was just all these different situations with this person kept popping up, these memories. And but why they were popping up is what was told to me is that you have no boundaries. This whole everything that is happening is is all because of me, not because of what this person is doing. Because guess what? This person is living her life how she wants to.
Yeah.
Just because you didn't like it, you know, your your boundaries were loosely defined or not defined at all. And on that ride home, it was like, okay, what are you gonna do? So I defined my boundaries, and the next action that I had to take was, well, I can't demand this person to change how they've chosen to do things. If it doesn't sit right or resonate with me, then it's my responsibility to say, okay, you go this way, I'll go this way. So um, boundaries, setting boundaries, um, practicing self-care, pursuing your passion, all of those things fall within the law of inspired actions. So does anyone have anything to chime in on that before we move on into some other laws and principles?
All I want to say is what?
Come on with it. Come
Like,
on with it.
you about to say something crazy. No, I'm not. I am
No,
right in
no.
alignment with what she was saying. The law of inspired action, though, I am a doer, right? I love to do things because I love to see results. Like I'm that person that I can have some challenges with control and not being able to see outcomes as I'm trying to like manifest stuff. Like I have my own timetable here of when I want stuff done, right? And if I'm just like, hey, okay, by this time, this is when I want to get this accomplished, and I'm not seeing ways that it's going to happen, I am definitely a person that will try to take things into my own hands, which again is something I have to gain some balance around, because you can end up then undoing things that were being done for you that you just didn't know were happening behind the scenes
Mhm,
that you had
mhm.
previously put into motion through your manifesting abilities, right? But the law of inspired action makes me think about, you know, loving myself enough to know that it's okay to let go of things that I once thought were so important. It's like the older I get, the less interested I become in things, the less interested I become in status, the less interested I become in consumption. It's like the more interested I become in, balance and peace and living my life in a way where I can show up every day refreshed and free. And, while I know some of those things are the way that we perceive things, right? It's our view of our circumstances that give us this understanding. I do think that, our environments and the ways that we just set our life up, play heavily into those roles. So it, made me realize that I don't have to be tied to the US per se, right? I'm watching all these different videos and looking at these different possibilities. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, right? But the possibilities of just living somewhere else. Like I feel like Akili at the core, like kind of like I'm a urban mystic chick. Like I should have a head wrap on somewhere and like a few more tattoos, probably a couple more piercings, some kind of swishy skirt. I don't want to be a dirt road, but I need to be some kind of swishy skirt, wooden jewelry. Like I am that person, right? So I feel like I want to be in an environment that supports that, or that where that feels right. Even though I know, goddesses, I can make that environment anywhere I'm at. I mean, I can put my skirt on and swish around all over the place here in Phoenix if that's what I want to do. But I kind of feel like I want to do it just in a different place, a different space where that just supports my spirit, or something. Like my soul, I almost feel like is calling me higher, or calling for
Yes.
more, or not more in, like I said, not in the consumption, but calling for, I don't know. I'll
I
get the
don't know.
verb now, but
I get you. I can't, I don't have a word for it as well, because
yes,
if
it's
you
like,
guys haven't noticed, the lighting has changed where I'm at
yeah.
because the sun has set it. I am out here in this little back patio area
Mhm.
of the Airbnb because I'm in Merida, Mexico. I understand exactly what you're saying, Akili. There was just this, I wouldn't even say it was a call, but I guess there's this vibration that was calling me to expand,
Yep.
expand my horizons, because all of us on this podcast, we are healers. So there's something that, and I told myself, there's something about me being here, that there's more to it than just me retiring comfortably somewhere. You know, the one of the guides that I met, he is a healer. He's a Mayan healer, and his journey was just fantastic. But I started to looking at how life synchronizes and who it was connecting me with. Even the simple things. I've traveled before. Hey, April, Juanita, we were in Egypt together just last year. But this experience, getting from the airport to this city, caused me so much anxiety, and I couldn't understand why. Could not understand why. And I'm like researching, I was checking, double checking, putting information out there. Hey, anybody got any, insight, help on this? But as I was on the bus, I had this overwhelming feeling of humility. I was so humble. And I said, okay, there is something in this moment that's a lesson for you, that it's a lesson. Now, how it's going to come about in the future, I don't know. But I'm in a country that I don't speak their language fluently. Es mi meta por 2024 hablar español. It is my goal to speak Spanish this year. Okay, I know little bits and pieces, but I had to put my trust in the hands of people that don't speak my language, and I can't barely speak theirs. And that was a very humbling experience, and I'm showing up, and it's like, okay, I'm, hey, how can I connect with you so that I know that you're going to take care of me and you don't know me from nobody, you know? And it allowed me to say, and to understand that, Linda, you know what it means to be empathetic and sympathetic. But now you have this firsthand experience of knowing how it is to be in a situation and you know nothing,
Yep.
you know. And I consider myself to be of a certain level of intelligence, but hey, in this situation, I'm like, none of that, you know. So it's like, okay, when you go out in this world, understand that the people that you encounter, they might be, fearful, feeling less confident about certain things because they don't know. And how are you going to show up for them? How are you making sure that I'm not judging them, and any of that nature? But it was just in that moment, I'm on this bus ride and just reflecting on how can that how can that help me help others,
Mhm.
So.
Yeah. Here.
Does anyone have anything else?
I'm gonna try not to keep talking. I'm just gonna say, when you said vibration, that was the word, right? Akili, the calling, the reason why I know I'm being called. I know we're all being called in different ways, but even like environment, a change, as you are changing internally, your internal environment is changing, right?
Mhm.
Right?
Yes.
Shifting. It makes sense that you are being called to an environment that matches it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I am.
Definitely.
I am as well. I am as well. Yes, 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 yes.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, yeah. Oh, can we pause so I can pee one more time?
You know what? Leave that in the damn podcast. Okay. Don't you edit that out.
Fine, I'll leave it in.
Yes, we need to
Okay,
let that happen.
please.
Yes, and that's
Okay.
going to be the title of this.
Exactly.
Y'all
That's
need
gonna
to
be
So
the
I can
the
pee.
title.
title.
That's gonna be
Yep.
And I
the
pause so I can
Yep.
pee.
that is gonna be
Yes.
perfect. Do it.
Wait, don't make me laugh, y'all. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Oh Lord.
Oh,
Oh my God.
awesome.
I know it's good stuff. It is really
Yeah.
good stuff.